Hello and welcome back to the Heart of Amethyst. We will be concluding this update with Almond. So if you probably saw, hopefully, the Roderick and the Callus videos, then you'll know more or less what to expect, at least in certain sections. But now you will see the Almond specific sections. So anyways, just as a recap in case you decided to skip those two videos, you went to the ball, you met the Almond specific character, which I believe his name is Snow? Yeah, Snow. He is a noble. He seemed really intent on speaking with Almond, and he was apparently very nice with Ehlly. But as soon as Almond saw him, he's like, yeah, no, I don't want to talk to this person. Go away. And this Snow character was like, oh, okay, fine. I'll disappear. I'll speak to you later, hopefully. And we were all kind of like, did you two, like, you know, is that your ex? But like, you'll find out who that is later. I'm trying to remember what else we did that was Almond specific. I cannot remember though. Did it have something to do with the lap room? Oh, no. You went into the city and Almond was asking Ehlly if he could, like, kind of, like, figure out how to read people or something like that. But then we found out that that's kind of what Almond's sort of special skill is because of his, the type of mana that is associated with his eye color, which is he's kind of able to, like, read a person's emotion or state of being. And, like, Ehlly was like, so that's how you kind of get with people or something like that. I forget. It's been a while. It's basically been a year since we saw any Heart of Amethyst related content. But yeah, I think that was mostly it. We of course saw, like, the whole things at the ball, like with the princess finding out that she is going to be wed and she's not very happy about that. Ehlly also is all like, that's kind of screwed up. Like, I know you guys are doing it for, like political reasons, but, like, that kind of sucks for you. But yeah. What else? Oh yeah, like I said, you're going to see some parts that are going to be the same as, like, the beginning, like the little transition periods where you get to pick who you're going to spend the day with. But yeah, you'll, as you have most likely guessed by now, you get to see, like, some backstory and get to be more closer with some of the characters. So yeah, you're gonna get to be closer with Almond now, or at least crack his shell, if you will, even though I don't think almonds have shells. You kind of eat that. Anyway, so yeah, without further ado, let us dive into Almond. Master, are you sure that I can't do anything for you? The little dog trailed behind me as I walked around the castle halls. He tried to act tough and professional, but his face betrayed how worried that he was feeling inside. And to be honest, I can't blame him. After all, I would also be worried about the guy that woke up screaming in the middle of the night. I just wish that he hadn't seen that. Zach, I'm telling you, I'm fine. You don't have to worry about me. I've been having some night terrors lately. They'll go away. Eventually. Now that was just hopeful thinking, as I had no guarantee that these freaking nightmares would ever leave me alone. But I had to hold on to any hope that was left. But what if we consult with the royal healer? I once went there with this terrible stomachache and he healed me in no time. Really, Zach? You're comparing a stomachache with night terrors? Well, no. But it wouldn't hurt to try, right? Goddesses bless his soul. He is pushy. I sigh as I leaned on a nearby wall, trying to look anywhere but at Zach, as his sad puppy eyes were killing me. It's too early in the morning anyways. I bet the healer is not even up yet. Besides, I'll make an appointment then. Good idea, Master. Before I could say anything else, the smaller dog started sprinting to Goddesses Nowhere, leaving only dust behind. He's going to find someone, isn't he? Damn it, it's too damn early for this crap. I really don't know what he's hoping to accomplish. There's no cure for nightmares. You just endure them. Relaxing herbs? Really? That's all that he could come up with? Turns out that I was right. The royal healer was busy and didn't have an opening for a fox with nightmares. Still, the little dog searched high and low until he found this run-of-the-mill healer shop, which turned out to be just a crazy old man in healer robes that prescribed me freaking herbs. And I find that insulting, actually. I have bad dreams, not a stress problem. I don't need relaxing herbs. Master, it wouldn't hurt to try, right? Want me to make them into a nice tea? I look back at the puppy, whose eyes were growing bigger by the second. This whole thing really meant a lot to him, didn't it? So, even if I think that it's a stupid idea, perhaps I should oblige him for his sake. If I say yes, will you stop pushing me? Yes, absolutely, Master. Cross my heart and hope to die. Alright then, please take those back to the castle. I'll drink a cup each night as the healer suggested, and if it works, then great. But if it doesn't, at least we tried. Deal? To be honest, I'm almost certain that it's not going to make a difference, but it's worth it if it will make him feel better. Also, this whole predicament has made me wonder what my mom would do in a situation like this. She was such a wonderful healer. There was not a single person that came to see her which walked away dissatisfied. It was like she had this power that made people feel better even just by being close to her. Me included. Man, I really miss her. Anyway, Zach, if you're done worrying about me, I'm sure that you got a lot of stuff to take care of. I'll stick around this part and see if I can buy myself something nice. So unless you want to be my personal mule, you're free to go. Well, if you need me to stay... No, that was just a joke, buddy. I sighed at the dog's inability to understand sarcasm, then I placed my hand on his shoulder and smiled. I mean it. Don't let me keep you here. Go make yourself useful. He blushed at that, looking down to the ground as he avoided my gaze. Yes, Master. I will see you tonight then. Aha. See ya. The young dog bowed before turning around and walking down the street, back to the royal castle. I feel a little guilty for using his work as an excuse to force him to go back and leave me by myself. But he was being really pushy today, and I just want to relax. Talking about relaxing and seeing that I'm already here on Market Street, maybe I should check out some of these stores. I haven't had the chance to fully browse some of these. Although things up here are quite expensive and I wouldn't want to blow through my savings in a single day. So I shouldn't be too frivolous. With that in mind, where should I go first? So here we are, now we get to look for Almond. And I say that because I read Roderick's part and then I read Ehlly's part, so now I'm finally gonna do Almond. So I believe he should be at the fashion boutique, of all places. Well, it's probably a good time to try my luck on one of these after all. I've never shopped for clothes before. All that I've ever worn has been hand-sewn by me by either Mr. Biscotti or... Never mind him. What I'm trying to say here is that I don't know what I'm gonna look for, but I want to give it a try. Besides, I should really give these old garments a rest. They're not in the best of shape and I pretty much wear the same outfit every single day. I wonder why. Thank you, Zach, for washing and drying them. Blessed be your heart. So yeah, I should make it easier on the little dog and buy a set or two. Maybe even fancy myself an item of gold or silver. I doubt it though, not really my style, or as some would say, I lack a proper sense of taste. But oh well, what's the harm? Now I'm even more curious. They're going to have to call me Sir Ehlly the Glamorous. Walking down the street, I indeed found myself victim of my lack of experience. There were at least a dozen clothing stores on this side of the street, and I'm sure that if I turned the corner I would find a dozen more. And worst of all, they all looked the same to me, so I had no idea where to begin. Nonetheless, I still tried to find one in which there weren't many clients. However, at this time of the day, all of them were packed with buyers. Worst of all, no matter where I looked, none of the stores seemed like they had anything that would fit my taste. Fair ladies wearing over-the-top dresses. Manly and handsome gentlemen wearing uncomfortable-looking suits. Like I said before, I'm not one to buy fancy suits, and I already have the one that the king gifted me. Moreover, I hardly ever use that one, as it is. Defeated, I decided to sit on the edge of the fountain. It was a warm morning, but I could feel the autumn wind already bristling in my fur. Thinking back, I can't hardly believe that I spent all of my summer stuck inside a castle on an island. It feels like a fairy tale. I wonder how Mr. Biscotti is doing. He always preferred the hot weather, saying the cold would make his bones cranky. Although, I'm certain that they were cranky to start with. I chuckled at the thought, looking down into the fountain. The water was so clear that I could easily see hundreds of silver and golden coins tingling under the surface, like precious pearls just waiting to be grabbed by any lucky finder. Although no one would ever dare, that's the bad omen to steal other people's wishes. Man, I haven't thrown a coin into a fountain since I was a little puppy. It's an old tradition. It comes from the times of the First War. When the birds enslaved the canine tribes, the ones that rebelled used to be stoned to death. Birds wouldn't allow them to bury the dead. Instead, the corpses would often be fed to the wild beasts. So to mourn their losses, the remaining canines would take those same stones and throw them into the nearby lakes, wishing that the spirits of those who had departed would find a way back into nature. That was before the church established the belief of the eternal garden and the endless void. Still, the custom remains to this day. I looked down at the fountain once more, thinking to myself that it couldn't hurt to try. So I went into my back pocket, aiming for my coin purse, where I found a silver andros which sparkled under the sun. Closing my eyes, I proceeded to think of a proper wish for the occasion. I really wish that I could be with you. I uttered under my breath, and then flicked the coin. It met the water with a gentle splash, and it soon sank to the bottom, joining its new companions. I didn't think that you were the superstitious type, mate. A hand landed on my shoulder, startling me to death, as shirtless Almond greeted me with a gentle smile afterwards. Noticing who it was, I tried to get my act together by smiling back at him. I'm not. I just felt in the mood. Almond looked at me with an inquisitive eyes, probably trying to judge if what I was saying was true. Oh yeah? What did you wish for then? I'm not telling you. It won't come true then. Thought you said you weren't superstitious. I'm not. Well, I am. I think this type of thing helps us keep our hopes up. I suppose you got a point. Although personally, I don't like to live in a fantasy. Ah, I see. We've got a skeptic here. But in a world where men can create fire from thin air, what bad can a little bit of wonder do? Almond said that with a slick smile, as if he were a character in a cheesy fantasy novel. Anyway, what are you doing here? Finally decided to buy a shirt? What? No way, mate. A shirt would take away half of my charm. He shamelessly flexed his muscles in front of me, making sure to bounce his pecs and show his armpits as he did so. My cheeks turned a little red at the display, but I tried to play it off cool. You're avoiding the question. As if he were a small kid being called out, Almond dropped his whole attempt at flirting and then looked at me with a slight blush. Ah yes, that. I was just looking for a trinket. He looked away, still blushing and scratching the back of his head in the process. Why was he acting so sheepish? What could be so embarrassing by Almond standards? A trinket? A trinket. What sort of trinket? You know, the sort that you use... Oh yeah? Used for what? The man was growing more and more nervous by the second, but I wasn't about to let him off the hook so easily. It was my turn for some sweet revenge. I'm not letting it go, Almond. Maybe you should, mate. Well, I'm not. I crossed my arms firmly and looked up at him with a raised eyebrow and a grin. Ugh, fine. You win, mate. He said out of the blue, grabbing my hand and dragging me to goddesses nowhere. I normally would have complained about this behavior, but I was too excited to find out about Almond's little secret. We walked through a few minutes through the crowded streets, his hands never letting go of mine. At some point, it made me feel a bit self-conscious, but I pushed those thoughts aside as I noticed not a single soul was paying attention to us. Besides, his hand was warm and soft, with a certain muscular roughness to it, which felt nice. That aside, eventually we arrived at a very secluded shop situated within a back alley. From the outside, you could barely notice it was a shop, but there was a sign that hung proud for everyone to see. It read, Annalise's Corner. What am I looking at? Just get in, mate. We'll talk inside. And with only that said, he hurried me inside the shop, urging me to not ask any further questions. The inside of the building was very nicely lit, with natural lighting entering through the many windows on the walls. A massive contrast from the looks of the outside. The most prominent colors in the room were beige and woodish brown, giving the shop a nice homely ambience. However, the room itself was not what called my attention, but rather the dozens of feminine underwear that were being sold in this establishment. There were also many underdresses and even some lingerie displayed in one of the corners. I turned to look at Almond with an inquisitive and maybe even little accusatory look on my face. So I wasn't imagining things. You really do like feminine clothing. Look, mate, it's not what you think. I ain't here to buy me-self some lady clothes. It's just that Lady Anne is me old acquaintance. She's the only one that I trust to deal with me. Undergarments. I couldn't help but laugh at the situation. It was so freaking cute that I felt like dying. Oh my god, Almond, this is priceless. I thought that you were going to tell me something way worse. Mate, come on, don't laugh. I could see Almond's body physically relaxing, his shoulders dropped, and even his tail started wagging lightly. And what about you? What were you doing before I kidnapped you? Oh, well, see these old things? I pointed at my shirt and then my pants. These are kind of the only clothes that I own. So yeah, I'm looking for a new spare. Oh, no what? Since... Almond, mate, is that you? Out of the back of the store, a brownish wolf made his appearance. He was a bit shorter than me, and his fur pattern was a combination of brown and white. He wore a white shirt beneath a green overgarment bristling with pins and needles. His blue trousers were fastened with a worn leather belt, from which a rolled-up measuring tape hung, swaying slightly with each step. However, the most unique aspect of the wolf was his left eye, which appeared to have lost its light a long time ago. The wolf walked closer to us, standing in front of Almond. His smile was wide and sweet, and when he grabbed Almond's shoulder, as if he were his brother, I couldn't help but feel warm and fuzzy inside. Goddesses, mate, would it kill you to come visit more often? Sometimes it takes you months to remember that we even exist. The brown wolf acted as if he were mad at the wolf, but the subtle wags of his tail betrayed his real feelings. I'm sorry, Damien. I'll be coming more often, promise. Almond's cheeks were turning red as he looked down at the floor. He was probably embarrassed by the display of affection, but I personally found it adorable. Yes, you better. As the wolf said that, he stopped his relentless attack on Almond and then turned his attention towards me. I nervously smiled back, but said nothing, as I wasn't sure what to say. And who's this? Yes, Damien, this is Ehlly. Ehlly, this is my old friend Damien. It's a pleasure to meet you. Let's put Ehlly's etiquette classes to the test. After all, it's always a good idea to make a great first impression. Oh my, quite the fancy pants, ain't ya? And good looking too. Yeah, I think so too. Almond's sincere smile made my cheeks burn up harder than ever before, even more than those times that he bluntly flirted with me. Wait, was this Almond's way to present me to his family? No way. Are they even related? Is this like a formal thing? Is he formally asking me out? Thank you, sir. You're too kind. This one is quite the catch, mate. You won't let him get away easy, will ya? Trust me, mate. I'm trying. They look at each other for a brief second and then started laughing at my expense. Meanwhile, I just remained there, taking the hit like a champ, until eventually I decided to change the subject. Ahem. Almond, didn't you come here for something? Ah, of course, I almost forgot. Damien, is Auntie Anne around? I placed an order with her. Are they ready? Yeah, they should be ready. I saw her sewing them herself a week ago. I keep telling her to let me do it, but when it comes to you, she insists on doing it herself. I personally think that she cuddles you too much. Anyway, Grandma's resting, so I'll bring them. Better not wake her up when she's taking her morning nap. Thank you, mate. He waved his hand dismissively, as if whatever favor he did for the wolf was not a big deal. Then he disappeared into the back of the store. They are the closest thing to a family that I have. Almond said as the band had already vanished behind the curtains. They seem like a nice people. They do, ain't it? How did you meet them? Well, when I first arrived in the city, I really needed a new pair of underwear urgently, but none of the assholes out there ever met me in the eye. Far as I know, they didn't think that I was good enough for their fancy stores. In any case, as I was about to give up, I felt a gentle touch in my hand. Auntie Anne said to me, "Are you lost, dear? Let me help you." At first, I didn't understand what she meant, but then she took me back here. And the rest is history, mate. I've been coming back every few months, even when I don't need a new pair. Damien eventually showed up. He's not her actual grandson, but she decided to give him a job. Auntie Anne is just nice like that. Aww. That's really sweet of her. I would have loved to have met her. She's the button. I'm sure that you would love her. Aw, who would have thought that you had a heart? Almond punched me playfully on the arm. His cheeks were a little red and his tail hadn't stopped wagging since he started his story. Alright, mate. Here you have him. Damien came back into the room with one pair of underwear on each of his hands. Almond quickly snatched them out of and hid them in his bag. No need to. Show me undies, mate. Oh, come on, mate. I'm sure that he's seen them more than your underwear already. No need to be shy. You're always bringing all these boys and girls into the store, you lucky bastard. Seriously though, Auntie and I have been talking about it, and we think that it wouldn't hurt you to tie the knot with one of them for once. We're worried about ya. At that exact moment, as Damien continued his ranting, I couldn't bear to look at them anymore. So I turned my head around and pretended to be looking at some clothes. Which made no sense, since these are all women's clothes. No, mate, you've got the wrong idea. Come on, mate, no need to be shy with me. Besides, this is my favorite among all the others that you've brought so far. Okay, yeah, I can't take this anymore. I need to get the hell out of here. Of course, he didn't bring me here because he thought that it would be special. He brought me here because it's his flirting strategy. I'm just one more of the bunch, right? So I don't want to be here any more than I need to be. I'm gonna go. I'll see you at the castle. No, wait, Ehlly. Completely ignoring the wolf's puppy eyes, I looked at the other wolf with a smile on my face. It was nice meeting you, Sir Damien. Ehlly, please, let me explain, mate. And with that, not wanting to hear even a single word coming out of his mouth, I exited the boutique. Damn. I didn't even get to buy clothes. Sitting under the trees always brings peace to my mind, no matter how agitated it is. No matter what sort of issues are going through my brain, nothing beats relaxing under the shade of a good old woody friend. Besides, I enjoy doing this when I'm alone. It's just me and the trees and nothing else matters. I let out a sigh as I look up into the branches and leaves of my so-called friend. As much as I wanted to lay back and sleep, last night I had one of those awful nightmares. Which is why I'm currently in this predicament once more. Being awake at the break of dawn, with nothing to do but drown myself in my own thoughts and sorrows. I was probably just being overdramatic. But my brain was fried. At least until now. As I was getting tired of doing nothing, believe it or not. So yet again, I'm presented with a choice. What should I do today? Okay, so let's see. Where would... Actually, we already know where he's hiding. Well, since I'm already here, might as well do some exploring. There's probably hundreds of corners in this palace that I haven't checked out yet. Which means that this is the perfect chance to familiarize myself with this massive building. And maybe find some secret treasure. I slap myself mentally for even thinking about stealing something, as that pretty much is what got me in this position in the first place. But anyway, I better not waste any more time. To adventure. My walk through the castle was actually quite insightful. I visited the kitchen and met a few people from the staff. They were all very nice and even treated me to some freshly baked apple pie. Then I went to the back of the castle and traversed the huge garden, which was filled with many kinds of flowers. There was even a greenhouse where they kept the most exotic plants that you can imagine. Although, when I tried grabbing the juiciest looking fruit, I was smacked in the head with a cane. Apparently the old lady that tends the plants doesn't like anyone going near them, as only the royal family has access to them. That was a big bummer. That aside though, it was quite the pleasant trip. Eventually I went over to the upper floors of the castle. There were many rooms in which I was not allowed in, but one of the few ones that I was given access to blew my mind. There was a huge 2-story library built in there, with tons of books. Although I must be honest, I completely ignored the books as my attention was mostly drawn to the many displays. From animal bones to exquisite paintings and even a huge atlas painted on the wall. Everything looked so grand and majestic that I suddenly felt very small. And to make it even better, on the 3rd floor, there was an observatory with astral charts and a massive telescope. I didn't know how it worked, so I didn't even touch it. Just in case. I admired it thoroughly nonetheless. After my detour to the library, I had a delicious lunch in my room, pork and mashed potatoes. And now I'm here just taking in the view of the empty ballroom. A few days back, I didn't really get the chance to admire the beauty of this room properly. Now though, with all the guests gone, I feel a strange sense of greatness as I stand here. Yet somehow it feels like there's something missing. This room was made to be filled with people, but for the most part it's completely empty and devoid of life. So then, does that mean that the mere existence of this place is meaningless? Or does it gain meaning only when the people are present? What sad and peculiar reality. To be tied to the existence of others. As I follow my thoughts, I inch closer to the throne. The big golden statue looked down at me with solemn expression. This man was most likely King Adrift, and the greatest hero in the history of the Canine Kingdom. Sometimes I wonder what he must have been like. Maybe he was all stoic and serious, Roderick-like. Or perhaps happy and optimistic like Almond. or even serious and awkward like Ehlly. All the history books that I've read always paint him as this gallant and magnificent savior ready to die for his kingdom. However, not a single one says anything about who he really was, what he was like, what he enjoyed, or even who he loved. Just the big hero that saved the kingdom. Well, I'm busy daydreaming about bygone days. A slight creak lets me know that a door has been opened. And once I turned around, I see Almond making his way towards my location. Hey mate, fancy meeting you here. What you up to? A faint smile crossed my face as I saw him, and he returned it in kind. Nothing much, I was just going around exploring the castle and I just ended up here. Admiring the statue. Did you know that there is not a single book that talks about King Adrift's taste in music or his younger life? Everyone just seems to forget that he was a person at all, and not just the hero of the people. It's a little sad. Even a big figure like him ended up being nothing more than a symbol. Nobody remembers him for who he really was. Well, I'm not much of a reader myself. Shocking. Almond chuckled at my comment, but decided to ignore it completely. Why were we thinking about that though? You okay? Oh no, yeah, I'm great. My mind just works like that sometimes. I just can't stop thinking about something once it's seated in my brain. Well, there were many times when I saw you just looking at nothing. Is that what you were doing? Pretty much, yeah. He stared at my eyes for a good 10 seconds before I looked away awkwardly. You're really unique, mate, you know that? Unique as in weird and socially awkward? Unique as in handsome and interesting. Ugh, here we go again. Why do my cheeks turn so red each time he flirts? I should be immune to it by now, but nope, here we go again, acting like a love-struck idiot. Besides, it's not like he means any of it. He's just trying to get under my pants. Anyways, did you need something? Not really. I just saw you come in and got curious. Well, now you know. Almond's eyes grew wide. Then I soon realized what I had just said and how I said it. Wait, shit, that came out wrong. I didn't mean to be rude. I just meant like, now you know what I am doing. As in, that was the reason that you followed me here, right? It's not that I... Almond laughed at my expense, as I wouldn't stop talking. Then he looked at me in the eyes and winked. Well, to make it up to me, how about you come with me, mate? There is another place that we can scratch from your exploration list. Psst, I don't have a list, don't be silly. Although maybe I should make one. I'm not sure that I have explored 10% of the entirety of this castle. Where would we go anyway? It's a surprise. Right after saying that, the wolf turned around and started walking towards a side door. Me, on the other hand, just watched him walk. Well, you coming, mate? His voice snapped me out of my thoughts, and I soon followed. I wasn't sure if it would be a good idea, but what could go wrong, right? We walked for over 20 minutes. Going through many halls and even more stairs, which all seemed to descend deeper and deeper into the earth. Almond was mostly silent, which was weird coming from him. So it made me wonder if he was up to something. So... where are we going exactly? Told you, mate. Secret. Aw, come on, not even a hint? Nope, but we're almost there. Just a bit further, mate. I groaned at his response, but followed nonetheless, like the good little pushover I am. I mean, he could be a serial killer taking me to his lair, and yet there I was. We pushed through a small gap on the stone wall and... Luckily for me, there was no serial killer lair to be found. Instead, a breathtaking sight opened up before us. an underground cave with clear water ponds and shining blue crystals above, which, alongside a small gap in the ceiling, were the only light source. That combination of factors made this place look magical, as if a fairy would emerge from the water at any moment and grant us our wish. I walked around, incapable of believing my eyes. Distracted as I was, I slipped on a puddle, but as I was about to fall into a pond, a soft hand grabbed mine, preventing the disaster. Careful, mate. We wouldn't want you to fall in one of those with your clothes on, would ya? Thanks. Well, what's this place anyway? It's an underground hot spring. Pretty neat, huh? It's naturally hot water? Yeah, it's my personal little spot. Just to confirm it, I crouched down near one of the ponds and dipped my finger inside. Like he said, the water was very warm, surprisingly hotter than I was expecting. How long has this been here? Ever since they built the castle. They pump the water from down here all the way up there. That's how they get constant hot water for their baths. Oh, now that you mention it, I did wonder how they did that. I figured that it was something magical, but this makes more sense. Yeah, the castle was built on top of an inactive volcano crater sealed away a millennia ago. Amazing. I turned around to get a hold of the magnificent view. It was simply magical. I always thought that the royals were just idiots with lots of money. But after seeing the way that this castle was built, I might reconsider. I mean, it's actually genius. Oh my heavens! Almond, for goddess's sake, cover yourself! Before my very eyes lay the naked and extremely well-built figure of the wolf. I covered my eyes as soon as I noticed, but I got a good handful of wolf before I did so. What? No way, mate. I didn't take you all the way here just to talk. Besides, what's the issue? We're both men. Come on, let's dip. The wolf walked closer to me and I could feel the warmth emanating from his body. I tried my best not to look at him, but he was just there in his entirety. Every inch of his body was in the nude, and I was being so uptight that I didn't even want to catch a peek. Alright, mate, come on. Don't be such a prude. The water is perfect. Just get in slowly or else the heat will get to your head. The wolf slowly stepped away from me and then got into the water, an inch at a time. He was being so nonchalant about the fact that he was naked and that I honestly had a hard time understanding him. How was this man raised? Does he have no decency? Although, to be honest, part of me wants to say fuck it and join him. Go wild, at least just this once. Fuck, I don't know. What should I do? Does that mean you're gonna be naked too? No, be demure. I'll just go back, okay? Thanks for bringing me here, though. This place is wonderful. Oh god. With that said, and still not looking back at him, I turn around and walk right to where we came from. I could hear Almond complaining and trying to convince me otherwise, but I just can't do it, no matter what he said. This is not who I am. If he wanted to be romantic, he should really invite me on a normal date. I would rather have one of those than whatever this was. In any case, once I left the cave, he didn't follow, which was a real shame as it took me around an hour just to figure out how to get out of the lower levels of the castle. It was a real labyrinth down there, and I could hardly see where I was going. Eventually, though, after an hour or two, I made it back up. Alone and dry, yes, but with my dignity still intact. Knock, knock, knock. The sound resonated through the entire room, forcing me to jolt awake from my sleep. Who could it be at this early in the morning? I thought to myself as I rolled around in bed, putting a pillow on my head in an attempt to quiet the knocking. Personally, whoever it was could wait. I hadn't had a good night's sleep in too long. The intensity of the knocking was getting louder and louder as I placed a second pillow on the top of my head, hoping that it would protect me from the sound. Oh, for fuck's sake, someone better be dying. Coming, I said as I rolled around in bed towards the edge of the bed, lowering my feet and sitting up. As my feet touched the cold stone floor, a single goosebump bristled all my fur. I remained in a seated position, trying to collect myself, as I was still a little groggy from just waking up. Rubbing my temples, I stood up from the bed and walked towards the door. I was wearing my underwear only, so let's hope that this visitor doesn't expect any decency. I grabbed the handle and opened the door far enough for just my snout to poke through. Yes, what is it? On the other side, I managed to see Roderick tapping impatiently on the ground. The wolf's ears perked up at the sound of my voice. As he turned around, our eyes met for a split second. Morning, Runt. Hey. Morning. Do you need something? Roderick huffed at the question, as if I had just said something so ridiculous that he could barely believe it. No, Runt. I just wanted to see your pretty face. I rolled my eyes at the sarcasm as a faint smile escaped his lips. Aren't you a dear? But really, what do you need? I need you to drop by the prison later this afternoon. Know how to get there? No. But I can ask. Why though? There is a situation. We've been trying to interrogate a prisoner, but he won't budge. I'm sure that you haven't forgotten about your paint-stealing friend. Oh shit, you must be talking about Hugo. I hadn't thought about him ever since... I probably shouldn't, but now I'm worried about that idiot. In any case, he told us that he would only talk to you, so I need your help. Why only me? Hell if I know, but this is his last chance. Okay, I'll see what I can do. Good, that's all that I ask. He nodded and then turned around, but before he left though, the wolf stopped in his tracks and looked at me over his shoulder. If he doesn't talk soon, we won't have any other choice but to execute him. Bear that in mind. And with that final warning, the man left for good. I then returned to the bed, although I decided to just lay there with my eyes open, as I wasn't feeling like sleeping anymore. Man, what a way to start my morning. Oh no, not again. I had just managed to fall asleep. Please go away. Whoever you are, leave. Master? It's me, Zach. Zach, please, I am very sleepy. Yes, of course, Master, but I wouldn't want to bother you if this wasn't important. May I please come in? You're not gonna leave no matter what I say, right? No? And then fine, come in. As I said that, I rolled out of the bed for the second time this morning, and once again I sat at the edge of the bed with my feet gently touching the cold floor. The dog wasted no time pushing the door open and slipping inside, his tail wagging slowly and anxiously. His fur, normally sleek and well-groomed, was slightly ruffled, and his eyes, though bright, carried a hint of worry. Master, you really need to see this, Zach said, his voice urgent but respectful. He dropped an envelope onto my lap, then he started fidgeting as he waited for me to open it. A letter? Yes, Master. It's marked with the seal of Arcanus, and it's addressed personally to you. So, Ehlly sent this? As I noticed the dog's worried expression, I raised my eyebrow at him, slightly inquiring what was wrong. So, please don't be mad, but I may have read it and well, butlers are not really supposed to do that. But I promise that I will punish myself accordingly. It was a mere moment of weakness. Please forgive me. Oh? Is that all? That's what you were worried about? The dog's ears dropped as he looked down, his tail tucked between his legs. It was honestly adorable. Well, I'm not mad, so don't worry. And I'm not gonna let you punish yourself for something so silly. Zach's ears perked up slightly at my reassurance, though his tail remained tucked. He glanced up with a mix of relief and lingering anxiety. Really, Master? He asked, his voice almost tentative. Yes, really. Just don't do it again. But now that I know that you already read it, let's cut to the chase and just tell me what it says, okay? Zach's posture relaxed a bit and he shuffled closer, clearly eager to assist. Yes, of course, Master. The letter is an invitation to a formal reunion in the Royal Library. Apparently, Lord Ehlly is allowed to bring a +1, and he thought of you as his best option. Really? I'm literally the least fancy person that he knows. Besides another ball. Damn, I'm not sure if I'm feeling up for something like that. Well, he said that he would really appreciate your company, but I'm sure that he would understand if you don't feel like going. Yeah, you're probably right. Still, I would hate to disappoint him. Images of a sad Ehlly dancing by himself and being constantly bothered by his awful family made me feel terrible about even considering not going. Still, I wasn't sure if I was ready to go through an experience similar to last week's ball. Does it say when the reunion will take place? It appears to be set for today's evening, Master. So, you would most likely have to start getting ready before the sun sets entirely. I see. Around the same time Broderick asked me to meet him. Well, let's not send him a proper response yet. I need to consider my options. As you wish, Master. I'll, leave you be for now. And with that said, the small dog left the room, making sure to close the door behind him. As the door clicked shut, I took a moment to sit quietly, the letter still resting on my lap. Well, maybe I shouldn't sleep any longer. The day went by faster than expected, and before I knew it, the sun was already setting in the horizon. Its light painted the sky shades of orange and pink, casting long shadows across the landscape. At the time, I was just relaxing under a tree as usual, trying not to think about my responsibilities or the fact that I would either have to go help in someone's interrogation or attend another high society social gathering. Both options I was clearly not looking forward to. So yeah, as you probably guessed, I was just stalling the inevitable. However, before I could make up my mind, I noticed a certain wolf sitting by himself at the top of the tower. I knew Almond was good at climbing, but damn, he got some heavy balls to be chilling in such a high place. The idea alone was enough to send a chill down my spine. What a crazy idiot. Although the more that I looked at him, the more it seemed like his head was tucked in between his legs. Was he crying, perhaps? I mean, obviously I couldn't hear him from where I was, but it certainly gave me that impression. I rubbed my eyes trying to make sense of what I was seeing. It was unusual for Almond to seek solace so openly, especially considering the many fun places that he could go to. Besides, I couldn't recall ever seeing him like this. He was often so happy and carefree, so I couldn't help but wonder if he needed someone to talk to. In any case, I wasn't sure I even had the time to talk to the wolf right now. I had 2 other compromises and only one of me. So a decision needed to be made, and a fast. I was running out of time. Who should I spend my afternoon with? And now, after having spurn Almond in the middle of the bowels of the castle, we get to spend more time with Almond. If I recall correctly, he will be sitting on top of a tower, right? I'm saying that because I completely skipped that other part, so yeah. I should really go check on him. I'm getting a little worried. Besides, if he's feeling a little blue, I suppose that I should be there for him. It's the least that I can do for everything that he's done for me. So with that thought in mind, I stood up from under the tree and soon got in motion. Each step that I took brought me closer to Almond, but also deepened the pit in my stomach. What could have possibly reduced the proud and carefree wolf to this state? It took me a good 10 minutes to reach the entrance to Almond's bedroom, which was situated on the left wing of the castle on the 5th floor. I knocked on the wooden door waiting for a cheerful "come in," which was typical of the wolf. Although, as I feared, only silence met my call. His door was slightly open, so I let myself in after 20 seconds without an answer. The inside of the room was messy and a bit dirty, which was also typical of the wolf. However, there was something more concerning about the sight than the mess itself. Because even though he's often careless, all the stuff on the floor seemed to have been thrown around on purpose. Could it be that he had a fight with someone, or perhaps he was so angry that he had crashed the room? Whatever it was, I now felt an even stranger need to talk to him. So seeing the side window wide open, I climbed through and made my way into the castle's roof. I tried not to look down as an attempt to keep my balance and precipitate myself to my death. Almond was sitting a few feet ahead with his back turned towards me, looking worse for wear. He didn't notice me at first, lost in whatever storm was raging inside of his head. His shoulders were hunched forward, his arms resting on his knees, and he hadn't moved an inch since I first spotted him from below. I hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to say or how to approach him. However, seeing this side of Almond was really getting to me, so I soon pushed the nervousness in my gut down to give room to something else. Sympathy. So I approached him, sat beside him, and cleared my throat softly to catch his attention. Hey, Almond? His ears twitched slightly at the sound of my voice, but he didn't turn around. I could see his hands clenched into fists as he wiped his face, lifting his head slightly to meet my gaze over his shoulder. I could also see that he was holding a piece of paper on his left hand, which after a quick glance looked like a letter. "What are you doing here?" He muttered, his voice rough and strained, a far cry from the jovial tone that he usually carried. I moved a little closer, touching his bicep slightly in an attempt to establish some sort of contact with the wolf. He didn't move away or say anything, so I took that as a good sign. "I saw you up here. Thought you might want some company." Almond scoffed, though it sounded more like a weak attempt to sound though. Oh goddesses, this man and his fragile ego. "I'm fine, mate. No need for you to worry." Almond. "Mate, seriously, I'm fine. I can deal with it on my own." I frowned, feeling a strange mix of anger and concern bubbling up inside of me. You know, you don't have to. Whatever's bothering you, I'm here for you. You don't have to go through it alone. There was a moment of silence between us for a while, and I could feel the weight of his internal struggle. Finally he spoke, though his voice was barely above a whisper. "I got a letter." "Okay." That's all that I said, giving him enough room to keep talking, but also giving him the reassurance that I was listening to him. "My family sent it." Oh well, this is the first mention of his family that I've ever gotten from the wolf. He's finally opening up. "My brother. I believe you met him at the royal ball last week. His name is Snow Clearwater." My eyes opened wide as plates, as I wasn't expecting such a big name to be related to someone like Almond. I mean, does this mean that Almond is royalty? Perhaps I should start treating him with more respect? That's, surprising. What did he say? Here. Read it for yourself. The wolf handed me the piece of paper, which I grabbed with extreme care, trying not to let it be carried by the afternoon wind. The contents of it read, "Dear Almond, how have you fared, brother? Has life been treating you fairly? I constantly pray to the goddesses for the answer of that question to be yes, but life has never been fair for you, has it? In any case, I don't want to bore you with mindless questions, as I know that you won't answer back to my letter. Still, I really wish that you would come back home. There is so much that I want to talk about. There is so much to make up for. So please, brother, if you will allow me to do just that, I would love to meet you again. I already talked with the king and he thought that it would be okay for us to see each other. Yet, I don't want you to feel pressured by this proposal. I'll be at the castle for a week. If you decide not to come before I leave, it will be all the proof that I need to let you go. But if you do come, I will assure you, I will make it up to you for everything that I've done. Always yours, Snow Clearwater." Oh wow, this letter was so loaded with feelings that it even felt heavy in my paw. I glanced up at Almond, whose gaze was fixed on the horizon, his jaw clenched tight. There was nothing left for me to say. I realized that I simply did not know enough about him as to find the right words. The letter contained a lot, too much really. It was clear that whatever had gone down between Almond and his family, particularly Snow, ran deeper than a simple sibling rivalry. This was something darker, more personal. What are you gonna do? I limited myself to say only that, as I didn't want to overstep. I mean, I was missing crucial information to make a judgment call on this subject. Was the brother evil? Was he good? I need more details. Chismoso. You gonna meet up with him? I asked, gently folding the letter and then handing it back to him. He left. He left yesterday. When I got the letter, I didn't open it at all. But then I got wind that he was already leaving and I didn't think that it would hurt this much. I shouldn't have opened it. It was a stupid decision. Almond's voice wavered, the weight of his decision pushing him down. He squeezed the letter in his paw, as if the fragile paper could somehow bear the blunt of his feelings. I thought ignoring it would make it easier. I told myself that if I didn't read it, I wouldn't have to deal with everything. But now, I'm starting to regret it a little, you know? I may hate his guts, but it wasn't always like this. I shifted uncomfortably, unsure of how to respond. This was new territory for the both of us, and I wasn't sure if Almond wanted comfort or just someone to listen to him. Do you want to talk about it? I said softly, taking a deep breath as I was trying to find the right words. I didn't want to mess up my chance to finally connect with the wolf in a deeper way. Almond looked up at me, finally meeting my eyes. His beautiful green eyes were red and puffy from all the crying, and even when he tried to smile, I knew for a fact that it was not an authentic Almond smile. Alright, I trust you. Let me tell you the story of the clear waters. Almond took a deep breath, and while looking at the horizon, he started talking. It all started with a man called Ludwig Clearwater, Lord of the Clearwater dynasty and only legitimate heir to the house. Ludwig was a man of emotions, driven by the desires of his heart, a strong believer that compassion and love were as strong as any weapon. He ruled over the entire Dominance province with this belief in mind. The thing is, royals don't believe in true love like Ludwig did. So when he turned 25, he was forced to marry the daughter of an important political figure in the land. Cassandra Maelster, an Arctic wolf of gorgeous white fur. Cassandra and Ludwig ruled together. They even had two beautiful babies, whose names were Sugar, the eldest daughter, and Cloud, the eldest son. His life was perfect. He had power, a beautiful wife, two wonderful kids, and a descendant who would take after him when he became old and ill. Or that's what everyone thought. But in reality, Ludwig was not happy. He loved his kids very much. He was a wonderful husband and even a better ruler. But he never found the one thing that he wanted the most. True love. Or so he thought, because 6 years after he got married to Cassandra, a woman named Emerald started working at the castle. Emerald was a simple woman. In fact, she was born as the 5th daughter of a very poor family. That meant no fancy dresses, no fancy makeup, no fancy hairstyles, and not even fancy fur colors. It was brown and ordinary, in contrast to that of Cassandra's. And yet, whenever she smiled, it would take Ludwig's breath away. Soon enough, they fell in love. Ludwig found what he wanted the most, a woman who loved him for who he was, and not for who he was supposed to be. So even if it was forbidden, they promised themselves to love each other. And from that promise, a baby was born. A brown baby, unlike his other kids, his features so similar to his father's that doubting his heritage would be a folly. Ludwig was overjoyed with this, but his happiness was short-lived, as Emerald died a few hours after giving birth to their son. This son was not the last of the Ludwig kids though, as just a year later, Snow Clearwater was born. In any case, it's easy to believe that the bastard's life would be a happy one. After all, he was a son Ludwig had with a woman that he truly loved. But no, things are never that easy. Cassandra wanted the kid to be executed, but Ludwig managed to quell her rage by saying that the kid would be just another servant. And just like that, the kid grew under the wing of his father and the constant abuse of his stepmother and half-siblings. But not all was bad. The youngest Snow took a liking to the bastard. They would often play together, eat together, and sometimes, away from the eyes of the others, do sleepovers. They were really happy. But good things never last for a bastard, as in the middle of a very cold and unforgiving winter, Lord Ludwig fell ill and died, giving the throne to the oldest son, Cloud. Cloud, influenced by his mother, gave word to execute the youngest bastard, who at the time was just 14 years old. Little Snow heard of this and rushed towards the small tower where his brother slept, informing him of the situation and begging for him to leave the castle at once. The bastard did as instructed and fled that very same night. He survived on his own for over 10 years, trying his best to forget his royal lineage or to even think about his past family. But one day he received a letter from his dear brother Snow. Apparently both Cassandra and Cloud had died of a plague that had hit the castle a few months ago. He begged his brother to come back, assuring him that now that he was a lord of the clear waters, he could come home. The bastard was hesitant at first, but the memory of his dear brother convinced him to return. Once he made it home though, instead of the warm arms of his brother, he was met by the cold realization that he had been played for a fool. Cassandra, Cloud, and many guards were waiting for him, ready to imprison him. And even though the bastard tried to escape, this time he didn't manage to. A few months after, a party was planned to celebrate the execution of the Clearwater bastard. The brown wolf had already accepted his fate. Months of imprisonment and solitude can do much harm to the mind. So he was ready to die. But fate is a tricky thing, and apparently word of his execution had reached the king. A king who was close friends with Ludwig and knew how much this bastard meant to his late companion. So only hours before his supposed death, the wolf was set free. Given a second chance, he swore loyalty to the same king that had saved his hide, and so far, he hadn't regretted doing so. Once he was done with the story, Almond sighed deeply and then looked me in the eyes. I thought that I was the one supposed to be crying, he said with a soft smile plastered all over his handsome face. I hadn't even noticed, but indeed, I had gotten teary-eyed over the course of Almond's story. Sorry, I said while wiping out the tears. It's just... Man, that's so unfair. Almond's smile softened even further. His eyes were gentle and understanding, but still carried a lot of sadness in them. You don't have to apologize. I know it's a lot. Maybe I shouldn't have told you. I shook my head, still wiping at my eyes, embarrassed by my own reaction. No, I'm glad that you did. It's just... I can't believe you had to go through all of that. It's so unfair. You deserve so much better. You still do. Almond's gaze flickered, as though my words had struck something deep inside of him. For a moment, he didn't respond, just watched me with an expression that I couldn't quite read. His usual bravado seemed to have slipped away, revealing something raw and vulnerable underneath. You really are one of a kind. I tilted my head at this comment, incapable of understanding if it was an insult or a compliment. What do you... Before I could say another word, the wolf ripped and threw the letter into the great abyss, and then looked back into the horizon. Thank you for listening, mate. For caring. I gave him a weak nod, trying to downplay the emotions swirling within me. So not wanting to let this opportunity go, I moved closer to the wolf and leaned on his shoulder. I wanted to let him know that he wasn't alone now. That's what friends are for, right? Almond chuckled, the sound low and warm, and for a moment the tension in his shoulders eased. Yeah, friends. He said while smiling, though there was something in his voice that made me wonder if there was more than he was letting on. I looked at him, and the way the fading sunlight framed his face, highlighting the strength and softness in equal measures, made me feel certain things. Suddenly, the idea of being just friends felt a little more complicated than it had a few minutes ago. And that's it for now. I know you wanted more, but for now, that's all that I had to show you. Things are developing nicely, don't you think? The boys seem to be more closer to Ehlly, and each one of them has a different way of showing it. And that's why I love to write them. They are each so different, which in turn makes their stories unique. However, that also makes each of their personal problems more complex and intimate, and I want to give each of them the time and care that they deserve as their arcs unfold. Aside from that, I want to say that I am truly sorry for taking almost a year to publish this update. To be honest, there were moments in which I thought that it would never come out. Moments in which I got so overwhelmed by my day-to-day life that I actually considered dropping the project altogether. University, finding a part-time job, and learning to handle my own expenses have all been huge changes in my life, changes that have taken a lot of time, energy, and emotional space. Still, even when I felt like letting go, the story and you guys were always there, waiting for me. In many ways, it has become a shield, something that helped me cope with the chaos of adult life. It reminds me of who I am and what I love, and what I want to keep building, even when things get hard. Thank you for your patience, your kindness, and for sticking with me all this time. Every comment, every bit of encouragement, every silent read, it all means the world to me. Also, many thanks to the wonderful people that decided to give me their time. After years of developing the game alone, I have finally found a team that I trust. It's thanks to them that the process of making Heart of Amethyst has become more manageable for me, so thank you kindly for that. Oh, also, I'm back to making my own CGs, and I tried my best to learn proper drawing and painting techniques to make these scenes look as special as possible. I really hope that you like them. Last but not least, to my loyal Patreons, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Without your constant support, this project and my career as a creator would be nothing more than a dream. However, with you helping me out, this is actually becoming a reality. I'm so sorry for the months in which I published nothing though. I'll try to apply myself more so that I can be consistent with the publications. And well, I think that's all that I wanted to say. If you're interested in supporting me on this project, please consider joining my Patreon. Or if you just want to stay tuned with everything that's related to Heart of Amethyst, maybe follow me on Twitter or join the Discord server. Whatever you decide to do, as long as you're here, that's the most important part. The story is growing with me, and I'm so grateful to have you all on the journey. Please have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Poor little Almond. Didn't get to be in the hot tub with Ehlly, and then apparently his stepbrother, I guess. He didn't get to reconnect with them. But given his story, you would kind of understand why he didn't want to reconnect at the ball to begin with. And then finding out that the brother is again, or maybe for the first time, trying to genuinely reconnect with them and then make up for what happened. I mean, you can, I guess, sort of understand where he's coming from, because it's like the whole situation of once bitten, twice shy, where like they were best friends growing up, basically. And then he's the one that told Almond to run away so that he wasn't executed. But then he was also the one that told Almond to come back because, oh, everyone also died, so like you could come back and, you know, you'll be safe. But then it turns out that that was a lie. And he pops up again and it's like, hey, I want to, you know, talk to you again. And it's like, no, go away. I don't trust you. But then it turns out that maybe he wanted to actually genuinely reconnect with him again. Like, again, it's like, you understandably wouldn't trust him. And his response is a response that is like, yeah, you betrayed me once already. I'm not gonna trust you. But then he reads the letter and it's like, oh no, maybe I missed my chance. But I guess we'll see later on as the story progresses if Almond's family will ever come back into play or what. Because I know that eventually the story is going to split into 3 parts, and you're gonna get to visit the different areas of the world of Heart of Amethyst. So you won't just stay within the kingdom of the canines, you'll actually be able to go where the cats and the tigers live, and the desert and some other places. So yeah, who knows, maybe we'll, in Almond's route, we'll actually end up at his family's home province? We'll see. Anyways, so yeah, poor Almond. I do wonder what would have happened if I had stayed for the hot tub scene, but like, come on, Almond. You gotta try better than that. Anyway, so what are your thoughts? Write it down in the comments, and thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play Heart of Amethyst yourself, or stay up to date with what's going on with it, or, you know, look at the socials, or join the Discord, or whatever, there will be a direct link down in the description. And if you would like to support the project, there is another link for their Patreon, which should give you earlier access to builds of Heart of Amethyst, and some behind-the-scenes stuff. And also, I know that in the past, he did draw some Patreon-specific artwork, which was, naughty. So, you know, there is that. And what else? But yeah, like, support the Heart of Amethyst if you feel so inclined. And support my channel if you feel so inclined, and you want earlier access to the videos as they're being scheduled. It's usually like 2 weeks in advance, sometimes 3 weeks, you never know. But yeah, it does help support me and the channel, so, you know, there's that. Or you can also support through Ko-fi, you know. You could do that. Or Throne, in case you're feeling really generous. I do have things on there, you know, you could buy. Or you could, you know, buy me something random off of Amazon. It could be candy, it could be gum. It could be, you cooking utensils. I don't know, whatever you guys want. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.